Mm.
Okay, so in today's class, I will be covering this paper, October number 2023 1 2. So I'm starting from here, question number 1. So question number 1 says that I have a factory that makes a chocolate bar. The factory uses a conveyor belt that moves the product from one stage of production to the next stage. An automated system counts the number of chocolate bars made in production. The system includes a sensor positioned above the conveyor belt. Identify one appropriate type of a sensor. In this question, it is explained that, for example, you have a chocolate bar and that chocolate bar is using a conveyor belt. Like, for example, this is an example of a conveyor belt and it is moving the products from one stage of production to the next stage. For example, for this is moving products from this stage to this stage. An automated system is the one that is counting the number of chocolate bars that are made at the end of the production. There is an automated system that is counting at the end of the production that how many number of chocolate bars are being made. The system includes the sensor position above the conveyor belt. Sensor is right here, this place. You need to identify one appropriate type of sensor that can be used. So I can write here that I can use a infrared sensor, or similarly, I can also write that I can also use a proximity sensor, because these are some types of sensors that can be placed above your conveyor belt so that you would better understand that which object is moving from one place to another, or if the project production is completed or not. In the B part, it says that a second automated system removes chocolate bar with an incorrect weight from the production line. Describe the role of actuators in the second system. Now, earlier I have discussed with you that whenever I'm referring to your actuators is an example when you want to move your items from one place to another. Now, this is asking that what is going to be the role of this actuator when you are removing your chocolate bars with an incorrect weight from the production line. So, I can definitely write here that actuator causes a movement or causes an action to move items. You can either write to move items, or you can even write that it can be used to pick up the incorrect chocolate bars as well. And you can also write that it can be used to convert your electrical energy into mechanical force as well. So just remember that whenever you have questions like this, so you can refer to these examples of an actuator. Now, in the C part, it says that the factory has many different machines with embedded systems. Identify two features of an embedded system. As earlier we have discussed in the class that embedded systems are basically the ones that are always dedicated to one task. That means that they are dedicatedly focused on completing that tasks, and an embedded system is one that is built into your larger systems as well. You can also write that you can integrate it into a larger system as well. Integrate it into a larger system as well, so that you can complete your tasks. Or you can also write that one basic definition of embedded system, that it always contains a processor, memory, and an input and output device. I can also write that an embedded system also has a dedicated hardware. Identify one drawback of an embedded system. Now, certainly there can be different numbers of drawbacks as well. Like, for example, it would be quite difficult for me to change the behavior of that embedded system. Or if I want to update the firmware, so it would be difficult for me to change. It would be difficult for me to upgrade as well, as there could be newer devices, and if I want to take the advantage of that, I cannot do that because it would be difficult for me. I can also say that other drawback of an embedded system can be they cannot be easily updated, and there could be some troubleshooting faults as well. So this is it for question number one. Now moving on to question number two, state what is meant by the following terms in a relational database. Number one is an entity. Now we have discussed this into our lecture that what is an entity. An entity is basically an object about which data can be stored. Which data can be stored. For example, I can name you like student's name. Like a student's name is an entity, and all the names of students can be stored into that. What is a primary key? A primary key is the unique attribute or the unique value. What is, do you understand by referential integrity? Referential integrity makes sure that the data does not exist cannot be referenced. That means that the data which do not have any existence, you cannot refer them. Or you can also say that I just make sure that if data is changed in one place, the change is also reflected in other places as well. As the word says, referential integrity. Referential means, like, for example, if I'm giving a reference to something, and integrity means to make sure that how much your data is protected. I hope I'm clear to you. If you have any queries, you can ask me anytime. Then I have the B part. The B part says that authentication is one method of a DBMS that can be used to improve the security. Describe other methods other than this to improve your security. Authentication is surely one of the ways. However, I have others as well. I need to write it for 4 marks. So certainly I can write here that I can use my backup process as a security layer, and I can use my access rights as well. And in the backup process, it is going to automatically take copies of your data regularly and store them. So just in case if you have any sort of virus or if you have any sort of complexity, you can recover your data back. Access rights means that only some of the users have access to your database. Only some users are given access permissions to your database. You can also write others as well. Like, for example, you can also set how different users are viewing your database or limiting the amount of views. We can also write here that encryption is one of the method as well. And how I can use that, it is going to turn my data into a way that is unrecognizable. But that's it for 4 marks. Now the C part, the data table is not normalized. Explain how to modify the table to put it into the first NF form. Now, I have discussed earlier in the class that for just in case if you have a question like 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, what you need to write into your answer. Now, for 1NF, how you are going to modify? You are going to write that you are going to identify your repeating group of attributes. And a table is in 1NF form when you have only atomic and unique values. Now, the first thing that you are going to modify it into a way that it is completely unique. First of all, you are going to identify the repeating group of attributes. Then you must ensure that each field is unique or atomic. Then what you can do right here is that you can break this student name. Student name should be split into, for example, first name and last name. And in the last, I can identify a primary key for the table. This is it. Now, the next part, the question number 3. State one difference between a kibibyte and a megabyte. So, you can write here that kb is a binary prefix and mega is a denary prefix. You can also write, for example, a kb byte is equals to 1024 bytes or 2 is to power 10 bytes. Or you can also write that a megabyte has 1000 kilobytes. Then the next part is that convert the denary value into 12-bit 2's complement binary integer. Acha, 3 part B1, the answer for this is this. 3B part 2 is 865. We are just going to convert these into a group of 4. We are going to write 1248 and we are going to have the final answer. If you want to convert this unsigned binary integer into denary, simple, you're just going to write the series 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 64, 32, 128, 256, and you are going to get this answer. The C part says that identify one practical application of BCD and justify why BCD is used in this application. Now, right here, you need to mention practical applications of BCD. Now, a practical application of BCD, like for example, BCD numbers are binary coded decimals and they are used into your electronic displays, like you have your calculator, you have your digital clocks. So, an application for it is can be that an application that performs financial or banking calculation. Like, for example, if I can take the example of banking transaction, so they must be in millions. So it would be difficult to represent those decimal values into binary. So financial transactions use this so that the answer is accurate and there are no rounding of errors. What is the justification of that? Justification could be that because visual display used in financial or banking calculators only need to show individual digits. लाइक जैसे कि हम किसी भी कैलकुलेटर की एग्जांपल लेते हैं ना, तो कैलकुलेटर की स्क्रीन के ऊपर इस तरह से एक स्क्रीन बनी हुई आती है। फिर आपके पास इस तरीके से अल्फाबेट्स होते हैं जो आपके पास फिर जो भी हम लेटर टाइप करते हैं वो बने हुए आते हैं। तो ये सारे जो लेटर्स हैं तुम्हारे पास, ये सारे बाइनरी कोडेड डेसिमल्स होते हैं। तो मैंने एक एप्लीकेशन यहाँ पे ये लिख दी कि an application can be used in financial calculation or banking calculation, and in justification I have noted this down that visual display is used in financial banking calculations to show individual digits. You can also write like example भी दे सकते हैं, for example calculators or digital clocks. Now the fourth part, write the Boolean expression and correspond to the following circuit. Now I have A and NAND B. तो पहले तो सबसे पहले मेरे पास आ गया A NAND B. This one is done. Now B and C with a XOR gate. So this is B XOR C. This is B XOR C, but we are also seeing a NOT gate. So this can be NOT. B XOR C. And finally, final is NAND. This one. Truth table, you can complete it on your own. Now the fifth part says that state the meaning of privacy of data for 1 marks. It ensures that your data is accurate, complete, and consistent. State the meaning of integrity of data. Data integ यार एक मिनट I think I made a mistake. 5A part is that privacy of data. It ensures that your data is accessed by authorized individual. Means the one who is authorized to use it or the one who has access to that can only access it. State what is meant by integrity of data. Now here we can write that it ensures that the data is accurate, consistent, and complete. And the C part, describe the following threats to a computer system. Phishing email. I need to write it for 4 marks. The email pretends to be from a official organization and persuade user to enter confidential information. Confidential information such as your password, bank details, etc. Spyware. Spywares are basically an example of malwares that are downloaded without the user's knowledge. Means the users does not know that you have downloaded a malware into a computer, and what it do is that now a malware is going to secretly records user activities such as, for example, your keystrokes or your websites that you are visiting. Spyware is an example of a cybersecurity threat. A virus is something that replicates itself in order to damage your computer system. A real-time video of a music concert needs to be streamed to subscriber. Take one box to identify the most appropriate. Now, in this part, you can answer any of your answer. Like, for example, it could be a lossy or it could be lossless, but you need to provide justification for it. Like, for example, if I take it as a lossy compression, I need to give the justification. Now, the justification could be that loss of quality will be noticed, and it needs to be viewed in real time. File size is smaller. Low bandwidth required. Explain the impact of changing the sampling resolution on the accuracy of a sound recording. Now, for example, if I am going to increase my sampling resolution, the number of bits used for each sample will be increased. Or I can write here that the quality of the sound is going to be much more better. Similarly, जैसे I have written down here the increasing, you can write here that if you decrease your sampling resolution, it is going to decrease each sample. And for one more mark, you need to write another point. I can write here that if I decrease that, this means that I'm going to have fewer amplitudes. And right here in your increasing area, you can also write here that if you are increasing the sampling resolution, that means that you are going to have a more number of amplitude. तो यहाँ पे मैंने चारों चीजें बता दी हैं। अगर सैम्पलिंग रेजोल्यूशन बढ़ाया तो सैंपल बढ़ेंगे, एम्पलीट्यूड बढ़ेगा, क्वालिटी अच्छी हो जाएगी। अगर सैम्पलिंग रेजोल्यूशन कम किए तो सैंपल कम होगा, एम्पलीट्यूड भी कम हो जाएगा। इसके बाद आपके पास सी पार्ट है, बिट मैप इमेज है, ये इसका रेजोल्यूशन है, ये इसकी हाइट है, बिट डेप्थ दी हुई है 10 पिक्सल। इसका आंसर देना है बिट मैप के अंदर मेबी बाइट्स में, शो योर वर्किंग। तो मेरे पास है 2048, इसको मैं मल्टीप्लाई कराऊंगा 1024 से, मेरे पास आंसर आ जाएगा इसका एक्स। उसके बाद एक्स को मैं मल्टीप्लाई करा दूंगा 10 से, तो मेरे पास आंसर आ जाएगा वाई। 10 से यूं करा दूंगा क्योंकि ये मेरी बिट डेप्थ है। उसके बाद जो भी मेरे पास वाई आ रहा है, वाई को मैं डिवाइड कराऊंगा आपके पास 8 मल्टीप्लाई बाय 1024 इंटू 1024, तो मेरा आंसर आएगा मेबी बाइट्स में। ये आप लोग खुद सॉल्व करके निकाल लीजिएगा। जी
अगर
हाँ
ये
बेटा, जैसा आप कह रहे हैं वैसा भी सही है,
ये 8 कहाँ
मैंने
से
कहा
आया?
वैसा भी सही है। क्या कह रही हो
वाई डिवाइड
बेटा? वाई को
किससे
डिवाइड और मल्टीप्लाई क्यों किया है?
वाई डिवाइड किससे की है?
बेटा वाई को जो आंसर आएगा उसको फिर हमने डिवाइड किया है 8 मल्टीप्लाई बाय
नहीं नहीं, वाई को डिवाइड किससे
124।
किया, क्यों किया? ये
क्या
8 से क्यों किया?
8 से इस वजह से किया है क्योंकि
8
आंसर
क्या है?
हमें चाहिए
हाँ,
मेबी
8 क्या
बाइट्स
है?
के अंदर।
8 क्या है?
और मेरे पास, तो तुम लोगों को सॉल्व करके दिखा देता हूँ।
8 क्या है?
क्योंकि आंसर देखो, वाई तो आ गया लेकिन वाई बहुत बड़ा आ रहा है।
क्रेजी।
सबसे
पॉज।
पहले अ, मैंने अपने पास यहाँ पे काम ये किया है कि 1024 को मल्टीप्लाई कराया 1024 से, तो मेरे पास आंसर समथिंग आ रहा है 2097152। इसके बाद इस आंसर को मल्टीप्लाई कराया 10 से, तो मेरे पास आंसर आ रहा है 2097152। के बाद जो अब ये आंसर आया है आप लोगों के पास 2097152, इसको आप लोग डिवाइड कराओगे किससे? 8 से। और मल्टीप्लाई कराओगे 1024 को टू टाइम्स, क्यों? क्योंकि सबसे पहले हमारे पास जो आंसर आया
10 से
है
डिवाइड नहीं करेंगे
तो
इसको?
हमें एस्टिमेट कराना है
नहीं,
फाइल
बल्कि सही है।
का बिटमैप इमेज का, जो मुझे चाहिए मैबी बाइट्स के अंदर। मैबी बाइट की कन्वर्जन देखना, तो फिर मेरे पास आंसर आएगा 2.5 मैबी बाइट्स।
8 में हमने इसलिए किया क्योंकि
इसलिए यह है क्योंकि